Well, hello. We're back again with the Women of Wisdom, the sassy women of wisdom. And we like to have a talk with you about time management, multitasking, which I'm sure in your life all of you have had to do. So we're going to have a little discussion about that.
Hi, my name is Constance Moore.
Hi, I'm Judge Maybelline from Justice with Judge Maybelline.
And I'm Evelyn Braxton with the Braxton Family Values.
All right.
All right. So time management. I think my greatest lesson with time management was raising 5 kids. I didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
And I think I was far more organized because I had to organize for 5 people.
That's it.
I used to have a board upstairs in my house in the hallway because my kids were in everything, it seemed, from sports to the language club, to this, to that, to everything, from school, everything. So for me, it was before the days of technology and there was no computers. I didn't have all that.
Right.
You know, and so all we did was write on, if something was going on and mommy might remember, because I'm trying to make sure this was going to soccer and this was going to dance school, this was going to acting school, this is, and you know, and everybody was involved with something and very involved with school, you know, programs, you know, clubs at school and all of that. So I would basically have to have something there. It was like a whiteboard. And they would just kind of write things sometimes. Sometimes it worked out, sometimes they, but most of the time in doing that, I had to sit down. Sometimes at night, I would sit down and map out how I was going to get this one to this one with that. You know, there were times when their father was involved. He would help some, but that didn't last long. But on the onset, I learned that I can do so many things. You know, before you have 5 kids, you don't think I'm gonna have 5 kids and I'm gonna know how to do these things.
Right.
But it's amazing what you do when you have to step up to the plate.
Absolutely.
You find God brings up in you some things you never knew were there. And so for that reason, I mean, there were times when this one had to be an audition over in Hollywood and this one had to be at soccer. This one had to be, so I had to always think in terms of, okay, I have enough time to do this, but I need to make sure I do that. And so it's important. It's important for your family life, of course, but it's also important that your children see that. They see that you know you take the time, you sit back and plan out your day, whatever needs to be done. And it might mean doing this. Juggling.
Juggling.
That's
Yeah,
right.
you have to juggle.
Yeah.
And my thing was, it didn't do any good to complain about it. I just do it.
Absolutely.
And that's basically how, you know, I had to do it. Had to do it. Who was going to do it?
I think mothers are the world's greatest jugglers.
I'm
and they just
truly,
I
I agree
agree.
with you. I
should
agree
get
with you.
the new Guinness Book of World Records for jugglers, and they never give us credit for
Right.
that.
Absolutely.
But I think I
Exactly.
butt in on Constance. If I did, forgive me. If
Sure.
I did?
No, I thought you said you were going to do it. I was going to give you the leeway. Go ahead. It's
Yeah.
okay. No problem.
Well, you didn't say anything.
It's okay.
Come on now,
It's
little
all
girl.
good. I love you.
I know you do. Well, I did a lot like Beverly. I raised 4 children. I raised 4 children, 3 all at once, and then a 4th one came along in the latter part. And the way I managed the time was, as Beverly said, I didn't have a chalkboard. People have always talked to me about whiteboards and chalkboards and writing things down. I am real guilty of not writing things down like that, but I write it down in my head. I put it in my head. So I knew that the kids had to be at school at 9 o'clock. I had to be at work at 8 o'clock. So how do you do that? I've got to drop them somewhere else before I get to work.
Right.
So I had to get the kids to preschool at 7 o'clock, 7:30, and then I got myself to work at 8 o'clock. And so you have to plan. It's all about
Yeah,
planning and timing.
really do.
You take that 24 hours in a clock and you look at it very carefully and you think about, okay, have to be at school at 7:30, the kids' school. How long does it take me to get from home to school? Then how long does it take me to get from school to the office? And that's how long how long does it take me to get up to get dressed? I did it like this. I got myself up first. I weigh an hour and a half ahead of the children. I prepared some breakfast for them when they were younger. I prepared breakfast for the boys, at least. When my daughter came along, she'll tell you she was raised on McDonald's. Anyway, that's another story. But I still...
But you
I
ate.
still prepared. I prepared. She ate McDonald's because with her, I was driving her into school from outside of Los Angeles, but driving her into school to Los Angeles to go to school. So we had to take that freeway, stop at McDonald's and get her a sandwich for her to eat in the car while we're getting to school.
Yeah.
So it's still a plan.
Time
It still was a plan, and I managed that time. But
Mm-hmm.
I'd get up and put a load of clothes in the washer while I'm preparing breakfast. I take that load out before we leave home, put that load in the dryer, put another load in the washer, get them their breakfast. Then they dress themselves, and then I get out of there and drive to school and drop off at school. And then I'd go to work. And then the evenings when I come home, you help with homework, check homework to see what was done. I'd get to that ironing board and iron the clothes for school the next day, lay everybody's clothes out, lay out my clothes, lay out my husband's clothes, and then start all over again.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Right. Okay.
Lord have mercy.
We are
I'm so
masters of
tired.
we
Yeah,
are
me.
listening. I'm
I know.
tired.
It was tiring too.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, for me,
Yeah.
I practice quality as opposed to quantity of time that I did spend with my daughter. So I'm just going to go there for a hot second because I basically did the same thing, the scheduling. Even though it was one child, it still was scheduling, and I had to work. And she was a latchkey. So, but I look at now for the single woman, I'm speaking to the
Right.
single audience, and that's me. It seems like as we get older, we really have to have time management because time is flying. We're almost 4 months into next year. And so when I think about, what I
8.
need to, yeah, really, I'm serious. Next
8.
year I have a big one, right in, hits me first thing of the year. And so, yeah, so for me, it's a matter of going to bed and getting up early. So whereas before I would have never thought of going to bed 9:30, 10 o'clock. Now that's the time I have to go to bed if I want to get up 4:30, 5 o'clock and get at least 6 to 7 hours of rest. So like you had said, Judge, 24 hours, we all get 24 hours. How do I divide up that 24 hours?
Right.
Now I need at least, they say we should have 8 hours of sleep. 8 hours is perfect for me. But
At
if I
this
get
age,
7,
we don't need 8, do we?
well, I don't know what I need, but I know what makes me feel good. But
Okay.
usually I don't do 8. 7 is usually good for me, and 6 is okay too. I mean, I can skate with 5, but 6 is okay. But 5, I feel a little, I get a little tired looking. But so you know what I'm saying?
You can tell the difference in the look,
Yeah,
right?
the difference in
I
the
can
look.
too.
Yeah,
Yep.
and so what I would do is, just get that sleep, put that, okay, say 7 hours, and then I need to do the gym thing. And usually I take an hour to do whatever I'm doing and I have to stretch. So I figure and to walk, to get there, whatever, give that an hour and a half, hour, 45 minutes, whatever. So I really I budget my time.
Budget.
I have to budget that time, and then I know if I go out and I go to meetings and I participate and I'm in this group, that group, or the other, that's going to take an hour and a half. It's going to take me a half an hour to drive there. So all of my time is accounted for, but I have to manage it so that I can show up, that I can be present, that I can be there, that I can be accountable, that I can be responsible, that I can keep my commitments. Because if I don't do it, I hate being late. I don't want to be late.
Yeah, we had that subject.
we
Yeah,
right.
that's a-
She and I. Well, we basically all the
But
same
sometimes,
sign
yeah,
except
we're
for one.
sometimes late, but we're doing. I think we're all doing a whole lot
Excuse
better.
me, but I just want to finish.
I'm
this.
sorry.
No problem. Just don't want to be late, so that's why. Yeah, I got to stay on the track. I'm on a track, and that's one thing when you get older too. You got to stay on the track. Because if you get off the track, I'll be over here looking silly. What was I saying again? What was I saying again? What was it? And then you wonder why I had that piece of paper earlier. No paper. Like they say, no hanger, no wire hangers, no paper. So this way I can just stay focused. So
Okay.
yeah. So
And you done really well
I
without
did
that
very
paper.
well. I did
That's
very
another
good.
subject. No
Yeah,
paper.
that's another
You
subject.
stayed
No
on
paper.
You stayed on task.
Stayed on
You stayed
task.
on
I'm not letting
point.
nobody take
You
me off
didn't
task.
forget.
That's right.
Oh.
What?
Go ahead.
Yeah,
ahead.
thank you. Yeah. Thank you. You just took me on. They are nuts. They set me up for that. They really set me. You go ahead, girl. You go ahead, girl. I got you back. Oh, no, I'm done.
Oh,
Yeah, just that
I
time
did shoot
management.
first.
Really, that's what works
glory.
for me.
you said.
But anyway.
Anyway.
But yes, time management.
Well, I guess it's my turn. You go. I got you. Okay. All right. Well, I think that's why I'm such a sticker when it comes to time,
Mm-hmm.
because raising my children, the time was of the essence.
Mhm.
You know, you get up a certain time in the morning, with 6 kids, you made sure they were dressed, breakfast, as Judge Maybelline said. And for me to say it again, I'm only repeating what she said. But it was very important. But somehow or another, I think that my children are rebellious
I got
when
that
it
way.
come to time.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was so bad with it
Mhm.
until they're determined not to do it. I'm like, what?
I did that against my parents when I first married. It was like, ooh, you guys had too many rules and you had to be everywhere on time. I taught
Yeah.
myself how to be late deliberately. I
think
taught
it's a
myself how to be late.
They've practiced
I
it
did.
so much
Mhm.
till it's a part of them now. I'm like,
Yes.
how do you guys do it, for God's sake? I can't
Habits.
stand it. I can't take it.
Right.
And they know that, and I think it doesn't bother them that it works on my nerves. It's like, we got her, we fix her. You know, that type of thing. Even when we are going to the airport, I mean, they basically barely getting there. I don't understand that. You know.
I'm one of those. I
I
understand
like it too.
that
I
well.
can't do it. I
don't
can't do it. It makes me
understand that.
nervous.
I don't like to be at the airport 3 hours in advance. That's another subject.
Two.
You know.
2 hours.
She's there 3 hours in advance.
Yeah, if I can. You know what I mean? I'd rather wait, go to the club room, sit down, have a cup of coffee, gather my thoughts. Of
We're
what
not
I'm
talking
going
about you
to
being at the
do.
airport. We're talking about managing.
I know that's the
multitasking.
managing. That's managing. I
Oh,
get a
okay.
cup of coffee. I have that. It takes me like 10 minutes to have the coffee. And so I'm regrouping, like, okay, what do I have to do next? What do I have to do when I get to LA? I know I have to see Judge Maybelline, so I have to prepare myself.
You're right. Get prepared.
And that type of thing.
See, that's how your friends talk about you.
Yeah, like in your face, though. That's a good thing.
Right in your face.
In your face.
Amen.
Although it is a pleasure. And I'm like, okay.
All of a sudden now it's a pleasure.
And so time management is very important.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, being on time sometimes can save your life.
Yes, that's true.
It really can, because when you're running late,
Russian.
you're rushing. You're
right.
not cognitive of what you're really doing, because you have to be there at 9 o'clock, and you're leaving the house, what, 8:45? Doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
It doesn't.
Then you wonder why you're in an accident. Because
Right.
you're
Forgotten
not
something.
really concentrating
Right.
on what you're doing, what you're concentrating on. Oh, I'll probably be late.
Now you're running everybody else off the road and
Everybody
cussing at them and
running.
hollering at them
Right.
and yelling at them.
And the kids, sometimes if they're in the back seat,
Yeah.
they're noisy and
Yeah.
what have you. And you're yelling at the children, and
Right.
because you don't have patience, you've lost
Right.
patience because you are late because you did not manage your time. Let us say it together. You did not manage your time. So I just thank God I have friends that's thinking it through.
Yeah.
Because you know what? Y'all used to work on my nerves.
Not me, because I like to be on time.
Especially
Before time.
Especially Beverly.
But I was always the only one late.
Check that.
They know that's my pet peeve. Okay. Although they were great at time managing when their children were small.
Right.
But I think you guys forgot.
Well, I'm going to tell you something.
Maybe because you feel you don't need it.
No, here's where I feel time management, and I deliberately, and I will tell you that, learning how to do it initially from my parents. We were on time for everything. We had to get up at a certain time, and we had 9 children, 9 of us living in the same house, sharing one bathroom, and we got everywhere on time, to school, to church, to work, because we had to manage who went in the bathroom and what. I mean, we had to order going into the bathroom, coming out, how long you gonna stay in there, how long it's gonna take you to get dressed, and all of that. But it was so rigid till when I got grown and got my own house, I said to myself, I'm going to be late. I want to know what it feels like to be late because I've never been late to anything, and I'm going to learn what it's like to be late. Now, here's how it happened. When I was growing up, we couldn't go to parties.
Right.
When I became an adult, I went to parties.
Mm-hmm.
I have a habit of being on time because that's
Yes,
what I
you
was
do.
taught and trained.
Mhm.
I went to people's parties at a house. Party starts at 8. You get there at 8. They
No
still
one
getting dressed.
there.
Right.
They're still getting
Right, get
dressed.
ready
for the
They're
party.
still trying to clean up the house. They're still
Yeah.
trying to cook the food.
Right,
and they're
right,
not
right.
ready. And they say to you when you walk in at 8, oh, you're
You're
here
early.
already?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I was like, well,
They
didn't you
do.
say the party started at 8?
Mhm.
Oh, we're not quite ready yet. Have a seat. So I was always early for the party, and people weren't ready.
Wasn't ready.
I had to learn to be late.
To be late.
And
Absolutely.
Give it
then
time,
being
right.
late became
Absolutely.
a habit.
Right.
Mm.
Now, when I was raising my children and had to get them to school, I
Absolutely.
learned how to be on time,
time.
because it was required.
Right.
Didn't get them there on time, you got in trouble. Didn't get to work on time, you got in trouble. So I picked up timeliness again.
Right.
But when I got older and didn't have to be at work at a certain time, and when I go to parties, as far as I'm concerned, that's leisure. If I'm going to a party, I get there when I get there.
Right.
I don't have to be there when it starts.
And see, and that's the
And
thing.
so I learned how, there's a time and place for all things.
Yeah.
There's a time that I
Yeah.
have to be at church when church starts. I have to be at work when work begins. I have to be at school. I have to be at a meeting when the meeting begins. But I
Right.
did pick up some bad habits along the way.
Mhm.
And I am changing that again and recognizing that I need to set aside a proper amount of time so that you're not rushing.
Right.
Because as you indicate, when you're rushing, you're likely to get into an accident or something may happen. I've come real close when I'm trying to run everybody off the highway because I left home late. And I'm driving, I'm going in and out of lanes, and all of a sudden I said, I got to stop. Oh, almost hit that car, almost hit that car. Oh, thank you, Jesus, thank you, Jesus.
Yes.
So now I realize that
Right.
when you haven't set aside enough time,
Mhm.
then your mind is going to be running, and you're not as
Absolutely.
keen. And like my father told us, and now I'm practicing it again, that if you're on time, you're late.
Right.
Mhm.
Exactly.
So if you have to be there at 11 and you
Be
get there at
there
11,
earlier.
you're
You're
late.
That's right.
Yeah.
If
that's
you're
what
on
my father used
time,
to
you're
say
late.
that.
You're supposed to be there before time.
Right.
So that's
Right.
my
Right.
motto. So today,
Right.
I was so proud of myself.
I was here first.
And I was about to say,
No,
that's
I-
Beverly was here
That's
first.
what I'm saying. I was here at
I'm
10,
like,
10.
is that Beverly was
was
Well,
here
Beverly
for
been on
so
the
many
ball
years.
lately.
Being a school teacher, I didn't have that option to be late because I would leave 27 kids standing out there.
Right,
Absolutely.
right.
So usually I came 30 minutes, 45 minutes late. And a lot of times I stayed
I mean, it's
late.
early.
Yeah, earlier. And sometimes I would be at work till 5 o'clock though.
Right.
So I could make sure I get there 45 minutes early or what have you and do some little activity with the kids or whatever. I didn't have that option.
Right.
I
So,
didn't
so,
have
so
the
now you
option.
enjoying.
And I'm enjoying
Enjoying it.
now. It's more of like today, I gave myself 2 hours to get here.
Oh.
I wasn't
So you
playing.
set aside
And
enough
I
time.
had a meeting just yesterday. It only takes 45 minutes, but I gave myself an hour and 15 minutes.
All right.
So again, I was the first one there. But
Now
that's
you hear
because
that?
I'm working on
we saw
me.
you pull up, actually.
Listening to
Well,
I
I'm
want
working
everybody to
on
hear.
me.
I want
I'm
the
working
I
on
want
it.
the audience to hear and understand what you were saying. That you gave yourself more than
Yeah, 'cause I
enough
lived so
time.
far,
No, more
too.
than enough time.
Proud of you.
Yes.
Google said 45 minutes. You gave yourself 90 minutes. More than enough
I
time.
had to.
And that's what I've been doing lately is just giving myself just enough time.
Right.
Today I did better. I had allowed an hour and a half to get here, but I ended up getting here within an hour as opposed to
Okay.
an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing better.
Yeah.
So, well, the
Be
other thing
late
is it's
or-
not perfection.
I,
you know,
pref-
it's
I prefer to
progress.
be on time. That's why I had
Yeah.
to work on it. I just,
Progress and not
you know.
perfection.
Right. Well, to be
Mhm.
late or early, it's just learned behavior.
Yes,
Learn
it
to
is.
behave.
Exactly.
That's
It
right.
becomes a
Yes,
habit.
it is.
and
It
it
becomes a
becomes
habit.
habit.
Broken. So
Absolutely.
I would
Mhm.
say to our listeners, to develop good habits.
Mm-hmm.
To be willing to change. It's all
Mhm.
about the attitude in changing the behavior,
Mhm.
and knowing that it's not all about me. I'm not going to be self-centered and all that other stuff because I'm considering and being respectful
to.
of not just my time but other people's time.
Right. And
That's right.
oftentimes I'm the person who lives so far away.
Yeah.
So I have to start thinking because the freeways are not friendly to me.
They're
They're
not
not
free
friendly to
anymore.
anybody.
They're not free.
And they're no longer free
No, they're
flowing.
not.
No,
So
no.
sometimes it's taken me 20 minutes to go somewhere, but I said, okay, I'll give myself 40 minutes. And I didn't make it for 50 minutes.
Right.
So
You gotta triple it.
those kinds of things I have to be conscious of. And now
Right.
I give myself maybe an hour more than what it normally would take because that's how I
That's
can
right.
assure I can be there.
That's all
And
right.
I've had meetings all week and I've had to give myself that time. And every time I end up being the first one there, but that's okay. I sat
It's
and
okay.
read or whatever
Yeah.
because I felt better not the rushing. See, the rushing, it does something
Gets that
to you.
adrenaline flowing.
Right.
and
That
you're not
doesn't feel
thinking
good.
clearly.
It doesn't feel good. So
Right.
that's what I know because of where I live, I have to push it in there sooner.
Yeah, so thank you, women, and thank you, audience, for joining us.
For another session of
Sassy
Sassy
Women of Wisdom.